Good afternoon. I wanted to talk to you today about something that was put on my heart. Because when I read it, it struck me right away about many of the things that many of you are going through right now. So as you contemplate the scriptures and the things that you've been taught by man, the things that you've grown up knowing, that you only knew them because you were told that they were true, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, all shared these same truths to you, so they must be true. But see, when you've learned them in such a way that you've not really known them, you've just been told that they were true. And that's why many times the things that I say are so shattering, because the things that I speak can break down the false understanding of them, because then and only then do you realize that they never really made sense to you. You just blindly accepted them. And there are different degrees of this. Now, unfortunately, not all of us are the same in this. And Christ speaks of this. Now, please keep in mind, and anybody that wants to think that I'm pushing a religion or I'm speaking religion, well, I can tell you right now, that is entirely wrong. Because there isn't a religion that I would subscribe to, because they're all corrupt. Religion is man's. It isn't the Father's. So I wanted to read to you, and this is from Matthew 13. And this begins with the parable of the sower that sows the seeds. So how I look at these scriptures as the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, that he says whenever you enter into these truths, you're going to experience everything exactly like he had. So his life becomes your testimony, that you will be seen as crazy by your family, you will be persecuted. Everybody will have a Judas, everybody will have a Peter. Everybody will experience these same exact things. And so this simply becomes a book. The Gospels become your understanding as to where you're at on the path at any given time. You simply have to go back and read it again and again and again to understand precisely where you're at within the journey. So it says, the same day Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and great crowds gathered around him, so that he got into a boat and he sat down. And the whole crowd stood on the beach, and he told them many things in parables, saying, a sower went out to sow, and he sowed. Some seeds fell along the path, and birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched. And since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on the good soil and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. He who has ears, let him hear. Now, he who has ears, let him hear. That was a confusing thing for many people that I've spoken to. And it was a confusing thing for me many times, because I didn't quite understand what he was saying. Was he being condescending that, hey, if you're not deaf, you'll hear this? Well, yes, in a way he was. Because then he says, to you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. And he will have an abundance, but from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken. But let me hear this for 1 second. Because he says, he who has, more will be given. So if you have a little bit of truth that's already in you, then you're going to hear what he has to say. And you'll be given abundance. But he who has not, whatever he does have, it'll be taken from him. All of it. This is why I speak to them in parables, he says. because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. Indeed, in their case, the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled that says, "You will indeed hear, but never understand, and you will indeed see, but never perceive. For the people's heart hath grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turn, and I would heal them." Now, understand with their heart. This is where, when I speak of love as opposed to blood sacrifice, that blood sacrifice doesn't jibe with the heart. That somehow the creator of all of these things wants you to kill one of his creatures and spread its blood on an altar to have forgiveness of sins. What kind of sense does that make? That doesn't coincide with anything that I know. But the most important part here is this. He says, "But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For truly I say to you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it." Now, why is that? That's because it wasn't time, and that the magnetosphere crack and the ability to actually separate yourself from this matrix of evil in your consciousness hadn't come yet, and that he was there, and for that short period of time their consciousness could be opened and they could hear, and then for a very extended period of time it was closed, and only those that were open, only those that were intended to hear it would hear it. So do not be troubled when people don't hear this truth.